The air temperature is getting hotter. The rainy and dry seasons are no longer erratic, as well as extreme weather such as rainstorms that have never happened before have hit Indonesia. These problems, which are believed to be the impact of climate change, have begun to be heavily voiced by Indonesian youth. They are the Gen Z and the millennials who now dominate the more than 270 million population in this country. Well, Alexandria Ocasio once said, "We don't have time to sit on our hands as our planet burns. For young people, climate change is bigger than election or re-election. It's life or death." Honorable respectful judges, the committees, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Regitha Nurazizah, standing right here to deliver my speech entitled Exploring Youth Activism on Climate Change. Well, ladies and gentlemen, climate change has increased levels of uncertainty about our future. As its impacts intensify over time, one thing has become certain. We will leave the earth to today's young children and young people and to future generations. The world is home to 1.8 billion young people between the ages of 10 to 24, the largest generation of youth in history. Young people's unprecedented mobilization around the world shows the massive power they possess to hold decision makers accountable. Their message is clear. The older generation has failed, and it's the young who will pay in full with their future. Well, young people are not only victims of climate change. They are also valuable contributors to climate actions. They are agents of change, entrepreneurs, and innovators, whether through education, science, or technology. Young people are scaling up their efforts and using their skills to accelerate climate actions. As the young generation who will become the world first in the energy transitions era towards net zero emission 2060, the younger generation will be the determinant in accelerating the transformation of the workforce from the use of fossil-based fuels to renewable energy-based. For this reason, the existence of a young generation who cares about controlling climate change through climate actions need to be encouraged. The younger generation who dare to express opinions, have the ability to absorb new ideas, innovative, creative, high social awareness, and independent, will be very easy to stir up climate change control agendas in the world. Indonesia has extraordinary natural capital superpower. There are 6 main mitigation efforts, namely activities to reduce the rate of deforestation and forest degradation, forest rehabilitation, especially mangroves, sustainable forest management, maintaining primary forest cover, industrial plantation forests, and increasing the role of biodiversity conservation. Well, climate change is also regarded as the biggest global health threat of the 21st century. The World Health Organization estimates that they will suffer more than 80% of illnesses and deaths attributable to climate change. The impacts of climate change can be direct or indirect, immediate or delayed. Threats to children's physical health have been well studied and include fatalities and injuries, parasitic diseases that are more than prevalent in warmer temperatures, and malnutrition. This can arise from both sudden climate change events such as floods, fires, and long-term impacts such as the rising sea levels. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals seek to reduce the inequalities between high-income countries, low- and middle-income countries. Climate change is described as the single biggest threat to development because the effects of climate change are so far-reaching. It will inevitably compromise achieving most of the other SDGs, including those relating to poverty, hunger, health and well-being, education, water and sanitation, peace and justice. Programs at local, national, and international levels support actively engaging children and youth in increasing awareness of climate change. Taking part in disaster preparedness and response projects, promoting renewable energy, developing environmentally sustainable practices, and advocating for urgent act on the climate crisis. Today's adult may be the last generation that can ensure a livable world to future generations. How does this reality change what it means to be a responsible adult today? Most young people experience climate change vicariously through what they learned at school, in their families, or in the media, including the social media. Although some parents may be tempted to protect their children for knowledge of climate change, widespread media coverage makes this nearly impossible. Well, despite this evidence of widespread troubling psychological reactions to the climate crisis, little research has addressed how these reactions affect young people's sense of themselves and their future. Given this evidence that many children feel powerless and hopeless about preventing catastrophic climate change, it is important to build their sense of self-efficacy and collective efficacy, means the beliefs that they can make a significant contribution and that people working together can effect change. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today's generation of youth will experience significant and rapid changes from lots of directions over their lifetimes. Even with speedy action to mitigate climate change, extreme weather events and longer-lasting climate impacts will inevitably increase in the rest of the 21st century. Even though the climate crisis will significantly affect the lives of children and youth, we know relatively little about how they engage with the issue. Until very recently, they had little voice in discussions of the problem. Well, I think that's all about my speech. Thank you so much for your kind and particular attention. I beg your pardon for all mistakes I've made. I'm Regitha. Thank you.